You ready to on your own confession of faith, baptize you into Jesus Christ. That was Christ. I take freedom right now. Freedom right now. Let him go. Let go. Let go. Let go.
Come out in the name of Jesus. Come on. Come on. Come out in the name of Jesus.
Right now. Right now. Let him go. Let him go. Let him go. Let go.
Come out in the name of Jesus. Come out. Come out in the name of Jesus. Come out. 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 Right now. Right now. Right now. Right now. Come out. Come out. Let's go in the name of Jesus.
Shut up and come out. Shut up and come out. Shut up and come out.
Come out in the name of Jesus. Stop it right now. You stop it right now. You quit it right now. In Jesus' name, stop it. Let go. Let go. Come out. You've been exposed. Come out right now. Come out right now. Let go. Let go. Again. Thank you.
Leading up to this clip that don't know what pizza that this was video how they these using just video rebuke any presence of the enemy that may have came through on the other side of these videos.
मैंने तो नहीं देखा, फ्रिज में सामने एक पैकेट पड़ा हुआ है कल ही, फ्रिज में मिडिल में एक भर्ती पैकेट रखा, मुझे लगा तुम्हारे।
Disbelieve, but please take my word on it that I am not joking. This is very serious, a matter of importance. I would like to confess that I've been asked to cut about 2/3 of my speech out and deliver as short a speech as possible. You are free to believe me or to disbelieve, but please take my word on it that I am not joking. This is very serious, a matter of importance.
This is the recording some believe cost him his life. In September 1977, the writer Philip K. Dick spoke to an audience in France. They expected science fiction. What he said, instead, revealed too much about reality. and drew the attention of the CIA and FBI, changing his life forever.
The subject of this speech is a topic which has been discovered recently. A breaching, a tinkering, a change had been made, but not in our present, had been made in our past. A variable was changed, reprogrammed as it were, and that because of this, an alternative world branched off, became actualized instead of the prior one, and that in fact, in literal fact, we are once more living this particular segment of linear time.
He said the CIA and FBI had taken his work years earlier. That's when you know he may have spoken too much.
In March of '74, the CIA opened my mail. The FBI had a file on me. I've seen both. But the cops were watching everything I did. And I was correct. And I was told the house was being watched and that eventually my house would be hit, my files would be opened, my papers would be taken, and so it came to pass. When I came home and found my house consisting of nothing but rubble, ruin, chaos, broken windows, smashed doorknobs, blown open files.
A few years later, he suddenly dies, right before the premiere of Blade Runner, June 1982, the film adaptation of his novel, Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep? Fans said it was strange that the author who had predicted so many modern themes about AI, identity, and reality never got to see the movie that would finally make him widely famous. What's strange to me is that he was only writing science fiction, yet the FBI and CIA started watching him. To me, that means he was touching information never meant for the public. That's what caught my attention. So listen carefully to what comes next. I know attention spans are short, but trust me, this video will give you chills.
We are accustomed to supposing that all change takes place along the linear time axis, from past to present to future. The present is an accrual of the past and is different from it. The future will accrue from the present on and be different yet. That an orthogonal or right-angled time axis could exist, a lateral domain in which change takes place, processes occurring sideways in reality, so to speak, this is almost impossible to imagine. How would we perceive such lateral changes? What would we experience? What clues, if we are trying to test out this bizarre theory, should we be on the alert for? In other words, how can change take place outside of linear time at all, in any sense, to any degree?
Philip tries to make this strange idea easier to understand with a simple picture. Imagine a painting on a wall. Instead of replacing the whole painting, the servants secretly change details on the same canvas. They remove a tree, add a girl, shift small elements. When the owner looks at it, he sees something new, yet also familiar. His brain struggles. It's the same painting, but also not the same. Dick uses this example to suggest that reality might be altered in subtle ways, not fully replaced.
Contemplating this possibility of a lateral arrangement of worlds, a plurality of overlapping Earths along whose linking axis a person can somehow move, can travel in a mysterious way from worse to fair to good to excellent. Contemplating this in theological terms, perhaps we could say that herewith we suddenly decipher the elliptical utterances which Christ expressed regarding the kingdom of God, specifically where it is located.
Oziva, get brighter skin.
वेडिंग सीजन आ रहा है मैं बस ओजिवा ग्लूटाफिजी चालू कर दिया और अब स्किन नेचुरली ब्राइटर लगती है
फेशियल्स ना टेम्पररी फिक्स देते हैं लेकिन ग्लूटाफिजी 5 पावरफुल एंटीऑक्सीडेंट है इसमें ग्लूटाथियोन लाइकोपीन है साथ में एस्टाजांथिन है
वेडिंग प्रेप के लिए ये सबसे सस्टेनेबल रूटीन है
Transform your skin in 8 weeks. Try Oziva Glutafizzy now. By now.
He connects his theory of parallel worlds to the words of Jesus. He points out that Jesus gave answers that seemed contradictory about the kingdom of God. He said, "My kingdom is not of this world," but also, "The kingdom is within you," or among you. Dick suggests these statements weren't meant to confuse, but to describe something deeper. Maybe Jesus was speaking about these overlapping realms, multiple realities that can be reached by living human beings. Some of them dark, others beautiful. and at the highest level, the just kingdom of God.
I, in my stories and novels, often write about counterfeit worlds, semi-real worlds, as well as deranged private worlds, inhabited often by just one person, while meantime the other characters either remain in their own worlds throughout or are somehow drawn into one of the peculiar ones. This theme occurs in the corpus of my 27 years of writing. At no time did I have a theoretical or conscious explanation for my preoccupation with these pluriform pseudo-worlds, but now I think I understand. What I was sensing was the manifold of partially actualized realities. It was in February of 1974 that my blocked-off memories of Track A returned, and it was in February of 1974 that my novel, Flow My Tears, the Policeman Said, was released finally, after two years' delay. It was almost as if the release of the novel, which had been delayed so long, meant that in a certain sense it was all right for me to remember. That is, to remember that the book was not fiction. The book was based on subliminal memories which I had of such a world.
After connecting his book to subliminal memories, he went deeper into describing what happened to him in early 1974. He said it began after dental surgery, when he was recovering at home. One afternoon, a delivery girl came to his door wearing a necklace with a Christian fish symbol. As the sunlight reflected off the necklace, Dick saw a sudden flash of pink light. From that moment on, he reported a series of overwhelming visions. He claimed the pink beam carried information directly into his mind, not images he imagined, but structured knowledge. He suddenly knew that his infant son had a dangerous undiagnosed medical condition. When doctors checked, they confirmed it, saving the boy's life. To Dick, this proved the experience was not fantasy. In the weeks that followed, the visions intensified. He said he lived in two overlapping realities, California in 1974 and ancient Rome in the 1st century. At times, he believed he was both himself and a Christian slave living under Roman rule. He described it as if time had folded, two tracks of history running at the same time, and his consciousness could move between them. Philip also reported receiving vast amounts of information, entire downloads of philosophy, theology, and science that felt too complex to invent. He said it was as if an external intelligence, which he later called VALIS, Vast Active Living Intelligence System, was transmitting knowledge into his brain. For him, this explained why many of his novels already contain themes of false realities, hidden powers, and overlapping worlds. He believed those stories were subliminal memories breaking through long before he consciously understood them.
Plural realities did exist, superimposed onto one another, like so many film transparency. What I still do not grasp, however, is how one reality out of the many becomes actualized in contradistinction to the others. More likely, the matrix world, the one with the true core of being, is determined by the programmer. He or it articulates, prints out, so to speak, the matrix choice and fuses it with actual substance. The core or essence of reality, that which receives or attains it, and to what degree, that is within the purview of the programmer. This selection and reselection is part of general creativity of world building, which seems to be it or his task.
As you can see, some people in the audience laughed at what he was saying. Remember, this was 1977. Back then, ideas about multiple realities and hidden programmers sounded completely insane to most people. Today, talk of simulations, parallel worlds, or alternate timelines isn't new anymore. Scientists and philosophers discuss it openly. But what still makes me pause is not the theory itself. It's the fact that the CIA and FBI really did open his mail, keep files on him, raid his home, and take his papers. That part still raises questions. If he was just a sci-fi writer making things up, why go to such lengths? Maybe he had said too much. And to make his concept easier to grasp, he gave an example. He compared reality itself to a game of chess. Imagine two players, one representing a dark, destructive force, and the other representing the guiding intelligence behind reality. On the surface, It can look like the dark player is winning moves, capturing pieces, and gaining control of the board. But in truth, the game is already structured so that the ultimate victory belongs to the higher player. According to this view, the guiding intelligence, what Dick sometimes called the programmer, has already chosen the variables in advance. Every apparent loss is only part of a larger sequence that leads to final victory. People sense this instinctively, which is why they pray to be included in that winning path, asking not to be left behind in the game. To be left out means staying under the influence of the destructive force, stuck in a darker version of reality. But even as that force seems clever, even as it appears to win in the short term, it is already defeated. It is blind to the full pattern of the game. The higher player sees the whole board, sees every possible move, and because of that, the outcome is decided. The constructive force will always prevail, and the only question is whether we are moved along with it, or left trapped in the losing side of the match.
I submit to you that such alterations, the creation or selection of such so-called alternative presence, is continually taking place. The very fact that we can conceptually deal with this notion, that is, entertain it as an idea, is the first step in discerning such processes themselves.
He gave some very simple examples of how these shifts might show up in everyday life. You might reach for a light switch in your bathroom and suddenly realize it has always been in a different spot. Or you might go to adjust the air vent in your car, only to find there was never one there at all. These are reflexes left over from another version of the present, habits from a timeline that no longer exists, but which still linger in your memory at a subconscious level. Sometimes we even dream of people or places we've never seen, yet they feel familiar and vivid, as if we really had known them. Most of the time, we dismiss it and move on. But one of the strongest impressions many people experience is déjà vu, that strange, undeniable feeling that we are reliving the present moment exactly as it happened before. We hear the same words, we say the same words, and we are sure we've been here before. Dick argued this wasn't just a trick of the mind. For him, déjà vu was evidence. He believed it was a clue that at some point in the past, a variable had been changed, as if reality was reprogrammed, and that a new timeline branched off from the old one. In other words, we are not just imagining it. We are literally reliving the same segment of time again, only in a slightly altered version of reality.
A breaching, a tinkering, a change had been made, but not in our present, had been made in our past. Evidently, such an alteration would have a peculiar effect on those persons involved. They would, so to speak, be moved back one square or several squares on the board game which constitutes our reality. Conceivably, this could happen any number of times, affecting any number of people, as alternative variables were reprogrammed. We would have to live out each reprogramming along the subsequent linear time axis, but to the programmer, whom we call God, to him the results of the programming would be apparent at once. We are within time, and he is not. We are living in a computer-programmed reality, and the only clue we have to it is when some variable is changed and some alteration in our reality occurs.
He believed that every time reality shifts, a new lateral world is generated, and with each shift, the guiding intelligence, the programmer, achieves a kind of victory. Each new version of reality isn't perfect, but it's slightly better than the one before it. In his view, the universe is constantly being refined, stage by stage, through this process. The way he described it, the old universe doesn't disappear. It becomes raw material, a kind of stockpile that is used to build the new one. What looks like chaos or broken fragments in one timeline might actually be the foundation for the next. This means reality isn't moving toward collapse, but toward improvement. Even if we can't always see how, the process keeps pushing forward, generating alternate worlds one after another, each infused with a little more order and structure than the last.
Got a billion-dollar web app idea? Now you can turn it into reality with Hostinger Horizons. To start, just tell Horizons what you want to create and instantly receive the first version. Preview your project and make edits as you go by chatting with the AI. With one click, publish your creation and share it with the world. Connect your own domain straight from within the interface. No coding, no extra setup. With Hostinger Horizons, you get effortless web app creation, hosting, email, and more. Go to hostinger.com and turn your ideas into reality.
Whisperflow delivers what Reed calls the future of AI interaction. Here's how it works.
Instead of typing, just talk. Whisperflow cleans it up instantly.
Reed explains that voice is iterative by default. You stumble, you rephrase, you interrupt yourself. Whisperflow handles all of that and turns it into perfect prompts wherever you're working.
Reed predicts we'll all be prompting AI more. And voice lets you add way more nuance and detail. Better prompts, better results. That's why he calls Flow's voice dictation a major step forward in human-computer interaction. If AI visionaries are raving about it, you should probably give it a try too. It's free. Get voice pilled with Whisperflow today.
What we need at this point is to locate, to bring forth as evidence, someone who has managed somehow, it doesn't matter how, to retain memories of a different present, latent alternate world impressions, different in some significant way from this, the one which is at this stage actualized. According to my theoretical view, it would almost certainly be memories of a worse world than this. For it is not reasonable that God, the programmer and reprogrammer, would substitute a worse world in terms of freedom or beauty or love or order or healthiness by any standard which we know.
If what Philip K. Dick was describing is true, that reality can shift sideways, that alternate versions of the world appear again and again, then maybe we've already seen signs of it without realizing. One of the clearest examples is what we now call the Mandela effect. Millions of people around the world share the same memory of something that doesn't match today's official version of events. The name itself comes from people remembering that Nelson Mandela died in prison during the 1980s. They remember news reports, public reactions, even school lessons about his death. Yet, in this timeline, Mandela was released and later became president of South Africa, living until 2013. For those who have the older memory, it feels as though history was rewritten. And it doesn't stop there. People remember the Berenstain Bears spelled as Berenstein, with an E. They remember the Monopoly Man having a monocle, when in fact, he never did. They recall the movie line, "Luke, I am your father," when the actual line is, "No, I am your father." These aren't just a handful of mistakes. They're shared, consistent memories across millions of people, as if we really had lived in a slightly different version of reality. Philip K. Dick's theory offers one possible explanation. If variables can be changed, if a programmer can shift us laterally from one track to another, then déjà vu, false memories, or the Mandela effect might not be errors at all. They could be traces of previous presents. Fragments of timelines we once occupied, but no longer do. This is where things get even stranger, because it's not just personal memories. Pop culture itself sometimes seems to reveal knowledge of events long before they happen. One of the most famous examples is The Simpsons. For more than 3 decades, the animated show has been making jokes that later turn out to mirror real-world events with uncanny accuracy. Years before smartwatches were invented, The Simpsons showed characters using wrist devices to make phone calls. They joked about a defective autocorrect feature on a handheld device, long before smartphones made that frustration a daily reality. They even portrayed Disney eventually buying 20th Century Fox, a merger that seemed absurd at the time but became reality in 2019. In another episode, they showed a skyscraper with a design almost identical to London's Shard, drawn over a decade before construction even began. They sketched a Nobel Prize prediction board that matched the actual Nobel winner announced years later. And in one storyline, they featured a three-eyed fish living near a power plant, which was followed years later by news photos of a three-eyed fish discovered in Argentina, living by water contaminated from a nuclear facility. At some point, the list becomes too long to ignore. These aren't just vague jokes that can be stretched to fit events. They're oddly specific details, many of them tied to technology, science, or cultural shifts that hadn't happened yet. Some people laugh it off as coincidence. Others wonder if the writers had hidden knowledge. And some even go further, suggesting, half joking but half serious, that the show's creator might have glimpsed the future, or somehow tapped into the same overlapping layers of reality Philip K. Dick described back in 1977. When you place these examples next to his words, the similarities are hard to miss. He spoke of multiple versions of the world stacked like film transparencies, with one becoming actualized over another. Whether through shared memories, deja vu, or a cartoon that seems to predict events years ahead of time, the effect is the same. We're left questioning whether reality is as fixed as we assume. And once you notice it, you start to wonder, are these just coincidences? Or are they clues that we are already slipping sideways, moving through alternate timelines without even realizing it?
क्या कर रहे हो आदित्य? यथेष्ट देरी से टूटे हो, फिर बेड पे आके नींद को किस लिए बुला रहे हो? बुला नहीं रहा आदित्य, एक तो गलती करते हो और उससे भी बड़ी बात है कि गलती को कभी मानते नहीं हो।
पहले एक चीज तुम बस देख लो, अभी करेक्शन कर रहा था। ये रहा 35 केमिस्ट्री का क्वेश्चन, फिजिकल केमिस्ट्री का, एक गलत एक छोड़ा। हाँ, क्या हालत है? कल रात को ये खत्म करके सोया था। क्वेश्चन नंबर 33 तो बहुत ज्यादा ही दिमाग खाने वाला था, तो क्वेश्चन नंबर 33 का देख लिया मैंने। ये क्या कहते हैं, वो करेक्शन देख के समझ आया। ये क्वेश्चन नंबर 33 में सच में ही वो एग्जाम में आने से छोड़ देने वाला क्वेश्चन है, क्योंकि जो टीचर का वीडियो सॉल्यूशन भेजे है आंसर ये करने का 14.5 मिनट का सॉल्यूशन भेजे क्वेश्चन, वो ऐसा क्वेश्चन आने से उसे देखना ही नहीं।
वो एक क्वेश्चन पूरे पेपर को दिया। तुम्हारा ग्लास में डाल के रखो।
कल के शाम का इंतजार नहीं, मतलब एग्जाम के बाद, लेकिन मैं नहीं लगी, ठीक है?
इसीलिए सुबह दी
मैं वेट नहीं कर सकती कोई क्लास में।
तुम ये करते हो ना, कल हिंदी के पेपर में मेहंदी डिजाइन करके आया
नहीं, अगर ड्राइंग डिजाइन वाला तब तो करना ही है।
ये
अगर ड्राइंग आ गया और डिजाइन वाला तो करना ही है।
এর মধ্যে কিছু আমি মিস করছি না তো? 1 2 3 4 5 7 8 9 10
মানে
কিছু মিস করলাম? কোন নাম্বার
কি বললা? এবার বলো।
মনে করে দাও।
क्या बोला?
हाँ तो वो तुम याद करके देखो, सही तो बोलो।
1 2 3 4 5 6 7
ऐसे ही करके छोड़ते हैं। 1 2 3 4 5 7 9 8 ओम नहीं मालूम, मेरा पेट बहुत ही हो गया।
खड़े होके खाओ।
नहीं
चला बाहर बेशरम।
चलो बॉस, एक बात बताओ, the most important skills that are needed to build a successful company today.
The timelines converge on that point in time. In an easy way to put it, the choices that we make become less and less consequential to the future. And eventually we're pushed into this bottleneck of time. All the possibilities of all the future scenarios of any choice, any possibility that was fed in and observed through the looking glass inherently ended up in the same future. That's the big secret.
Millions of people remember certain events that never happened. And so how do you accept that?
Now pay attention, because what you're about to see changes everything. There are documents, studies, and strange patterns that many people have noticed, things that feel real but are hard to explain. Something around 1999, and it might explain why so many of us feel like time is speeding up, why everything looks the same, sounds the same, and feels strangely artificial.
We might have the sense that we're rerunning the same scene, we're saying the same things, but something could be different, and usually something is different.
So what is actually happening, and how come no one's talking about it? Let's start here. In the decades leading up to the year 2000, culture evolved at breakneck speed. Each era felt completely different from the one before. The 60s brought psychedelic rebellion and a hunger for change. The 70s gave us raw punk, vibrant disco, and a growing distrust in authority. The 80s exploded with loud fashion, fast tech, and a love for everything big and bold. In the 90s, a strange blend of digital optimism and quiet anxiety about what was coming next. But after 1999, everything flatlined. There is no clear 2000s aesthetic, no truly new movements. Music started recycling itself, fashion started looping, even technology plateaued. Sure, Phones got smarter, but nothing feels revolutionary. It's like we entered a time loop or a simulation where everything looks the same, sounds the same, and never really changes. And this isn't just a feeling. Psychologists have studied the chronostasis effect, the feeling that time is accelerating as we age. But the current phenomenon affects everyone, not just older people. Young people feel it too. Teenagers say 2018 feels like it was yesterday. Why? Because something shifted. Some researchers tied to the rise of the internet, mass data manipulation, and the beginning of algorithmic control over human perception. And this is just the beginning. Because if time itself feels fake, maybe reality isn't what it used to be either. Stay with me, because what comes next connects government programs, lost time, and a theory so insane it might actually be true. So programs, lost time, and a theory so insane it might actually be true. So if everything started to feel off after 1999, what actually happened around that time? Let's start with Y2K. In the final months of 1999, there was a global concern that computer systems would fail when the date switched to the year 2000. All the software used only 2 digits to record years, so 2 nils might be read as 1900, potentially disrupting banks,
credit cards, and ATMs may cease to function.
Power grids, airlines,
airplanes, and trains may come to a halt.
Governments and corporations spent over $300 billion updating systems. It was one of the largest coordinated tech efforts in history. People stocked food, withdrew cash, and prepared for the worst. But when midnight came, almost nothing happened. The systems held, the world moved on. Still, that global moment left an imprint. Some view it as a psychological turning point, the end of the analog age and the quiet beginning of a fully digital world. From that point on, life accelerated. Culture, communication, and consciousness shifted onto screens, fast, constant, and increasingly disconnected from physical time. Some researchers believe Y2K wasn't about a bug at all, but a kind of global psychological reset, a ritual of fear, distraction, and silence. The code may not have crashed, but something else may have been triggered. Our perception of time and reality. After something strange started happening online, people began noticing memories that didn't match reality. The most famous? The Berenstain Bears. Millions remember it as Berenstain with an E. But every book says Berenstain with an A, and that's just the beginning.
If you're running a simulation and you go back and you change some variables and you rerun the simulation, lots of little things could be different along the way, right? You have many different possible paths.
You have glitches in the matrix.
Exactly. You're now on this timeline, but you remember, you have like a deja vu, or you have like a weird memory.
Movie quotes, logos, product names, all different than we remember.
Memory.
Movie quotes, logos. Product names. All different than we remember. Entire groups of people swearing something changed with no explanation. It became known as entire groups of people swearing something changed with no explanation. It became known as the Mandela effect, named after people who remembered Nelson Mandela dying in prison years before he actually did. What could cause something like this?
Are you familiar with the Mandela effect? Yeah, of course. Millions of people remember certain events that never happened. And so how do you explain that? As we go through our conscious progression, as we raise consciousness, the way we perceive the world, and therefore all that will exist in our world, will morph to that new resonance as a sympathetic resonance. So certain aspects of the old world will just no longer exist. And so we can still have a phantom memory of those experiences, whether it's like Jiffy peanut butter or Luke, I am your father, which he never said that, right? All these things like that literally just like fall out of your new frequency. Because everything in your world around you, including time itself, is retrocausal. The world around you that is no longer fitting your frequency will disintegrate and dissolve.
And this is where things take a turn. Because according to Bill Wood, a former Navy SEAL with high-level clearance, the US military once had access to a device called Project Looking Glass, a technology that could supposedly view potential future timelines.
The project was shut down because there was a problem when we approached 2012. The timelines converge on that point in time. When you know how string theory works and how the possibility of possibilities works and how making one choice over here doesn't necessarily mean that the other choice couldn't exist at the same time. But once you get your brain wrapped around this subject, you find out that at the end of 2012, in an easy way to put it, the choices that we make become less and less consequential to the future. And eventually we're pushed into this bottleneck of time, no matter which choice we make.
Okay, so is that certainly 2012 in your understanding?
It's well coincides with December 21st, 2012.
So at that point, all possibilities lead to the same
Timelines. All possible timelines lead to the same basic set of history in the future.
And after that, they shut it all down. Now ask yourself, why would a system like that be buried, and what exactly did they see? Because this isn't just about false memories or tech. It might explain why everything since 1999 feels frozen and artificial, like we're on rails in a version of reality that wasn't meant to last this long. And if you think that's wild, wait until you hear what else Looking Glass may have revealed. So what exactly did they see with Looking Glass? According to multiple whistleblowers, including Bill Wood and other interviewed by Project Camelot, every time they ran the device, no matter what variables they changed, all future timelines converged to a single fixed point. That point, somewhere between 2012 and 2016. After that, the future became unpredictable. No more branching outcomes, just a wall. Now here's where things get even more interesting. 2012 wasn't just the year everyone joked about the Mayan apocalypse. It was also a year packed with quiet shifts, massive spikes in social unrest, the first viral wave of fake news, and most importantly, a rise of algorithmic feeds where machines began shaping what billions of people saw each day. Some theorists believe that Convergence Point wasn't a literal end, but a collapse of free potential. A moment when human behavior became so predictable that machines, social platforms, surveillance systems, predictive models could simulate us entirely. A world running on autoplay. And suddenly, that feeling you've had, like nothing's really new anymore, starts to make sense. Because if time is no longer open, if we're just living out one locked path, it would explain the déjà vu, the cultural repetition, and why history feels like it's just spinning in place. Even historian Francis Fukuyama wrote about this idea in the early 90s. He called it the end of history, a moment where progress would flatten and would just repeat the same political and cultural cycles. That theory was mocked back then, but now, more people are starting to ask, what if he was right? And what if this timeline we're stuck in was never supposed to happen at all? So what exactly did Project Looking Glass reveal, and why was it quietly shut down? The people involved began noticing something strange. No matter what variables they used, the results kept showing the same future. A point where all possible timelines seemed to merge. That moment, somewhere between 2012 and 2016. After that, everything became unclear, like the future couldn't be read anymore. This brings us back to 1999, a year that might have marked more than just the turn of a century. It's also when The Matrix was released. At the time, it was seen as just another sci-fi movie, but looking back, it feels like something more.
You've been living in a dream world, Neo.
The film introduced a powerful idea, that the world we experience might not be what it seems, that reality could be shaped or even simulated without us knowing. And once you start asking questions, things begin to change. That idea resonates deeply with what many have felt since the early 2000s. The time feels different, that the future doesn't feel open the way it once did. Almost like things are repeating themselves, the same cycles, the same events, showing up again and again. Some people even report seeing repeating numbers everywhere, like 1111, 222, 444, almost like little glitches or signals hidden in everyday life. Anyway, these synchronicities are another topic we'll explore in a future video. Quick side note, if you're into numerology, I recommend trying a numerology reading on this website. It's real and honest. the same outcome. Fast forward to 2012, some whistleblowers claimed that a confidential briefing took place where certain agencies acknowledged the shift, a kind of convergence in human potential. This document, released by the CIA, explores consciousness as something that can move through time, even outside of the physical world. It discusses remote viewing, timelines, and the nature of reality itself. Now, connect that to the Matrix, and the overlap becomes hard to ignore. Maybe it wasn't just a movie, maybe it was the first time the system gave us a glimpse behind the curtain. And if that's the case, what else have we been shown without realizing it? So let's go a level deeper. Because even if technologies like Project Looking Glass were real, very few people would have ever had access to the full picture. Why? Because of compartmentalization. Inside military and intelligence programs, information is split into layers. People only see what they need to know. Even high-level operatives are often given just a piece of a much larger puzzle. So when whistleblowers speak out, they're often describing small fragments of a system they never fully understood, but the patterns are there. Take the CIA's Stargate project, for example. For over 20 years, the US government ran classified programs to test remote viewing, a method of seeing distant places, people, and even future events using only the mind.
We were asked to find a downed Russian airplane with an atomic bomb on it. Joe McMoneagle described what was going on in a Russian building. He described the construction of an enormous submarine, a 500-foot submarine. And people laughed at us. They said, there's never been this is 3 times bigger than any submarine in the world. And within 6 months, the Russians rolled out the biggest submarine in the world. And Joe was the first person to describe that, which he did very accurately.
This isn't fiction. Declassified documents confirm remote viewing was tested, documented, and at times highly accurate. Now here's where it gets interesting. Some of those same remote viewers reported strange visions tied to the future. Visions of a break in the timeline or an event horizon. Something big that would change how human consciousness functions. And many of those visions clustered around 2012. They described a sense of things flattening, of time behaving differently, and a feeling that humanity would shift into a new kind of experience, one that wasn't fully physical. So now we have looking glass operators, remote viewers, whistleblowers, and even films like The Matrix, all pointing towards the same idea, that time isn't just moving forward anymore. It's looping, compressing, or being managed. All of this leads us to the holographic universe theory. This idea, proposed by physicists like Gerard T. Hooft and Leonard Susskind, suggests that everything we experience in 3D reality could actually be encoded on a 2D surface like a cosmic projection. In other words, reality might be a kind of simulation, not in the sci-fi sense of computers and code, but as a structure built from vibrations, frequencies, and information.
Computing power is growing rapidly. We create simulations of worlds. We have video games with characters that are inside the video game. Imagine a day where you can simulate a world so perfectly with life forms, humans, so well that you can recreate every single neurosynaptic thought you could have, but now you're in the simulation on the computer.
Now combine that with something else. The end of the Mayan calendar in 2012. Many thought it predicted an apocalypse. But what if it marked something different? A transition, a shift in how we experience time, space, or consciousness. Not a physical destruction, but a realignment. A timeline switch we didn't even notice. And this brings us to the Higgs boson, often called the God particle. When scientists at CERN confirmed its existence in 2012, was celebrated. But some theorists, including Dr. Joseph Lycan at Fermilab, pointed out something fascinating. The Higgs field could, in theory, cause a quantum collapse of reality. Not immediately, but over time.
So how will that happen? Well, the way that would happen would be that at some point, somewhere, spontaneously out in the vacuum of space, in between galaxies somewhere, just through some funny little quantum fluctuation, there'll be a little bubble that will form. And that little bubble will be living in, with the Higgs field turned on to a higher value, and that will be a lower energy state than the ordinary vacuum that surrounds it. And so the bubble will expand. And it will expand at the speed of light, and will keep doing that, and nothing will stop it until it completely wipes out everything that's already here, and we will enter a new era for our universe.
Again, this isn't about fear. It's about possibility. Maybe time feels strange because we're somewhere new, not in danger, just out of sync. And that might explain why the world feels like it's almost the same, but just different enough to notice. So if that's true, if something really did shift, then the next question is, what are we actually experiencing right now? Let me walk you through a few theories that might explain it. Some researchers from the world of new physics, like Nassim Haramein, suggest that Earth itself is changing. Specifically, they point to the Schumann resonance, a natural frequency produced by electromagnetic waves in Earth's atmosphere. For decades, it held steady around 7.83 Hz, but in recent years, it's shown surprising spikes, sometimes reaching over 30 Hz. The theory? As this frequency increases, it may be affecting how we perceive time. People report time moving faster, days blurring together, and less memory of simple daily moments. It's speculative but fascinating because it connects human consciousness directly to Earth's vibrations. Then there's the concept of parallel realities and timeline shift. The idea that instead of one single linear timeline, there may be multiple versions of reality, and sometimes we cross between them. This is often brought up in conversations around the Mandela effect, collective false memories that defy logic. Why do so many people remember the Berenstain Bears when all the books say Berenstain with an A? And that's where CERN enters the picture again. In 2016, during one of CERN's high-energy runs, a strange anomaly was recorded, an unexpected signal in the data. At the same time, people online began reporting bizarre experiences, glitches in memory, and a collective feeling that something had shifted.
So what the kid winds up with is this theory of like one atom weighing too much and is that being just enough to shift our universe?
Look at what it says there. He claims that CERN destroyed the universe during recent experiments, which has resulted in us living in a nearby parallel universe instead.
It sparked discussion about whether these experiments could be interacting with space-time or even nudging us between timelines. Of course, there's no confirmation of that. But what's clear is this. More and more people feel like time doesn't behave the way it used to. And that brings us to the final question. Why does time feel so fast now, when it didn't before? So let's bring this back to something simple. Everyday life. Because even without theories or timelines, most people agree on one thing. Time feels faster now. And there's a reason for that. Neuroscientists have found that our experience of time is shaped by how much attention we give to the present moment. When we're young, everything is new. New experiences, new people, new emotions. That novelty slows time down. The brain processes more information, builds more memories, and stretches time as a result. But as we age, and especially in modern life, routines take over. Wake up, check your phone, work, scroll, sleep, repeat. Fewer new experiences means fewer memory bookmarks. Days blur into weeks, weeks into months, because nothing stands out. This is called temporal compression, and it's one of the most researched explanations for why time feels like it's speeding up. And now, add algorithms to that. Every scroll on social media is engineered to keep your brain in a loop, not of learning, but of repetition. Same types of videos, same stories, same emotions.
These days, it feels like little bits of my time kind of slip away from me. And when that happens, it feels like parts of my life are slipping away. Specifically, it feels like little bits of my time get slipped away to various things like this, like technology, I check things. If this email shows up, I've been tagged in a photo. When this appears, I can't help but click on it right now, right? It's like, what if it's a bad photo, so I have to click it right now. I'm not just gonna click see photo, what I'm actually gonna do is spend the next 20 minutes. The worst part is that I know that this is what's gonna happen, and even knowing that that's what's gonna happen doesn't stop me from doing it again the next time.
So if you feel like you blink and months are gone, you're not imagining it. You're just living in a system that trains you not to notice time passing. Then there's the digital memory problem. We don't store memories the way we used to. Photos are endless but meaningless. Notifications pull us out of the present before it even registers. We remember less because we attend less. And without memory, there is no sense of time. None of this requires a glitch in the matrix or a simulation theory, though those ideas are still worth exploring. But even in the real, grounded world, our experience of time has changed, driven by repetition, distraction, and the speed of modern life. So maybe the world didn't end in 1999. Maybe we just stopped noticing it the way we used to. If this video made you think, let me know in the comments below. Have you felt time speeding up? Have you noticed anything strange since 1999? Don't forget to subscribe if you want to see more deep dives like this. We've got more videos coming on synchronicities, timelines, and everything in between. And hey, if you know someone who'd find this interesting, share it with them. You never know who might need to hear it.
In my car with two other people going down this hill when all of a sudden it turned over. And I was arrested, of course, for that, you know. And they were going to turn me loose, except that they called in and said the Army had AWOL out on me, which is a lie, of course. But they arrested me there and took me here under escort.
Why do you think they brought you to a psychiatric hospital?
Orders from somewhere else, I would assume.
Did you do anything that they might have misinterpreted as being, you know, something that you should have been brought to a psychiatric hospital?
Well, mostly fear is why they didn't want to hang on to me too long.
What were they afraid of?
Well, I'm a known killer, where they come from. So
What do you mean?
it's a pretty touchy thing being around me if you're on the wrong side. They don't relish having a hold of me unless I'm inside of a cage or something.
What do you mean that you're a known killer?
I have killed
How many people have you killed?
several hundreds.
Where did you kill them?
Chicago, Detroit, New York, Mississippi Gulf, California, Texas.
Why did you kill them?
Because they were in the act of violent crimes.
Like what?
Like murder, rape, brutal beatings, extortion, illicit drug trafficking.
Did you kill them?
Yes.
To prevent them from doing that, or what?
Well, when it got back to their leaders, it did stop quite a few illegal events from happening.
What do you mean by their leaders?
Their highest in command.
Are you talking about the mafia or what?
Yes, indeed. Mafiosi, Cosa Nostra. They used to be the same, but they're no longer. They divided up in this nation, and a few from other nations that were stepping on illegal grounds for information gathering purposes.
What made you decide to take it into your own hands to do that?
I was the highest ranking official at the time
Highest ranking official in what?
in intelligence.
Oh, so you work in intelligence?
Yes,
What were you doing when you were in the car that crashed?
I was enjoying myself by self-medicating myself with hashish.
And you were an intelligence officer then?
Yes,
And they didn't mind that you were taking drugs?
you don't seem to understand. They're not drugs, they're curative procedures for top international agents, which is what they use. Hashish and marijuana.
What do they cure you of?
What are the cures of? Malaise, pedentry. Primarily, pedentry is the main thing they cure. The thing they work the best on is ease of mind, less worry, relaxing, which when there is that much of a schedule before you, it's difficult to do without aid from some substance or another.
What do you mean pedentry? Is that something you can see?
Economic pedentry.
I'm not familiar with that word at all.
Economic pedentry, that's severe pedentry.
What is pedentry?
Pedentry is pain, exertion, anxiety with no loving care, you know? And the best cure for that is rest, relaxation, and marijuana, and hashish, and woman. Woman used to be the only known cure for pedentry and in some cases severe pedentry. But hashish is really the main cure or the main stepping stone. But to remove the things that bring pedentry on the next time, those moods have to be satisfied along with the cure.
What kinds of things did you do in intelligence besides killing people?
Tracking, coding, filing.
Okay. Do the people in intelligence know that you're here?
Beg your pardon?
Do the people in intelligence, your superiors, know that?
They certainly do, yes.
Why haven't they?
That was a reply from them right then. That is a correct and yes, ma'am, if you wish, then that is what you may do.
Oh, you can hear them?
No, I can read the comp prints.
Where?
Yes, sir, we do believe she was just about ready to come to that realization, but she's not so certain herself, and that we said in another second that she would appear to prove that. That was in that 1/8-second verse there.
What can you see? Things coming from my head or?
No, I can read the code levels in the comp.
Print? What is a comp print? Some kind of computer printout or something?
Those particular lights that they're not necessarily a code printout, but they're human-based.
So you get them from lights. Where do you see them?
Beg your pardon?
Where do you see the comp prints?
Behind me, in front of me.
Just out in the air?
They're like switches in mood. Yeah, yes, but you must be able to read and decipher them. I've been trained all my life to read them. I am the best. I am the highest IQ'd. I am the best reader and the best leader in the comp forces.
What does the comp stand for?
Comp? Compliance? Yes, when it's broken down into absolute basics, but it's an intelligence word. And a comp base is where men work together to decide to what extent we're going to have to go, to certain areas.
How did the intelligence people?
And that's 1990 comp print right there.
1990? What do you mean?
Yes, that's where I just came from. They were able to trace and decipher my route from there 3 times.
We're in 83, 1983, right?
That's 83 print there, and that's 84.
So you know the future?
And that's 90.
You've been in the future?
Yes, and in the past. That's where I just came from not more than 2 weeks ago.
Why did they transport you back to the past?
Because that part of Armageddon was reaching a certain particular point, we were no longer needed. We have to go to the past.
So, what did you do in the past? What was your mission in the past?
Run supplies, detect enemy agents, aid those who are wounded and in need of help, and mainly clear our comps in the past. There are certain messages spelled out through the universe.
And what are you going to do next? What's in the future?
Well, after I crawl off the cross, it's going to be pretty final, you know?
You're going to go on a cross?
Yes,
How's that?
I'm headed for the first John the Baptist.
What do you mean?
The one who died on the cross beside Jesus, only he didn't die there.
You are that same person?
I am the same person.
Or are you going to do that again?
I'm going to do that for the first time. I haven't got there yet.
Oh, you're going to go back in time, back to the past. What's the purpose of that?
The purpose of that? Well, it has a number of different purposes. But other than a tribute to those who are living and guaranteed to their lives, you know, because infiltration among the normal people was heavy for a while. And there are proofs that we are going to extend to change it, and that we are suffering as they are. So just bear with it and bear your torment, and if you can, help someone. This is what it means from our side. And we're also telling the bad, which is like they're newly created, such as all the demons and devils and everything, you know, that which is that they are proof that they are not the only ones that are doing this, you know, and to stay away except in certain circumstances.
Are you a very religious person?
I am a Lord God Jehovah.
You are God.
Yes, I am. I'm the head of my entire race.
Have you been having any trouble sleeping lately?
No.
Have you had any trouble getting to sleep or with waking up very early?
That is where it is, waking up early.
You wake up early.
Yes.
How early?
Incredibly early. Oakdale was about the worst thing there was.
What was Oakdale?
Oakdale was where I underwent torture and becking procedures for a long time.
What kind of procedures? I'm sorry.
Becking. That's when, like, your brain and your body reach a certain extent, you know. That mind sort of rebels with a colorful display of lighting, which is sometimes red, sometimes light gray, sometimes light blue, and particularly white. That's known as beck. And when a god gets so much pressure on him, then he becks, which fills the entire body, which doesn't do much for the pedentry.
Is pedentry somehow associated with your hands?
Well, I can feel it. Here. See? That's pedentry, that's shaking. It's shrinking up a bit now, which is how they've tried to cure it, which is dispersing it as much as possible throughout my body, which means it needs to be fed immediately.
Do you ever have the feeling that all of a sudden some alien forces withdraw all the thoughts from your head?
That has occurred once or twice, yes.
Who? Is that the enemy again that does that?
It certainly is.
How do you explain that they're able to do that?
Because according to the laws, since they were created, which was deficient of a normal life expectancy, that they are permitted to attack the Lord God whose fault it was in the first place, which is what gets them to hell in a hurry and to the other side where they are not involved anymore. In between that, fear and frustration, and until it comes to something like that, they don't even wait. They just sink a band, and it goes into the very center of my being and is encompassed where it is not speaking anymore.
And it comes back again later?
Yes. They know how to operate machinery as well as men.
Do you ever hear voices that other people can't hear?
Voices that other people can't hear. Seems that way, yes.
Do you hear them inside of your head, or do you hear them with your ears as if they were in the room? And what kinds of things do they say to you?
It's mostly in the mind that they speak.
What do they say?
I don't know, just torment you. Just that what I did caused such and such a disaster here, and that what I did caused such and such a disaster there.
Whose voices are they, do you think?
I'm not sure.
Are they men's or women's voices?
Both men's, women's, and children. By the way, I hope you're through,
Why's that?
because I'm getting tired of saying things that you already know.
But I don't already know these things.
I'd like to call a halt to this if possible and get back to it another day.
I just have a few more questions to ask you.
Couldn't we hold off on these for a while?
The timelines converge on that point.
No.
But I don't already know these things.
I'd like to call a halt to this if possible and get back to it another day.
I just have a few more questions to ask you.
Couldn't we hold off on these for a while?
It's as if they were in the room. And what kinds of things do they say to you?
It's mostly in the mind that they speak.
What do they say?
I don't know, just torment you. Just that what I did caused such and such a disaster here, and that what I did caused such and such a disaster there.
Whose voices are they, do you think?
I'm not sure.
Are they?
Well, Michael and Susan are concerned about the future of their schizophrenic 10-year-old daughter, Janny. Now, I asked to interact with Janny and just spend some time with her to kind of see how she was and what her parents deal with on a daily basis. So let's take a look at that visit. Okay, I'm at the Dr. Phil house and I'm getting ready to talk to Janny. Okay, she's been here for a while and been very agitated, been running out of the room. So this is going to be a bit of a on-the-fly situation. She refuses to be mic'd, so I'm going to run a mic down my right sleeve to come out at my cuff so you can hear her talk. I'm going to be asking her questions to tell me about the world that she lives in apart from us. Her parents are here, and they're going to be prepared to step in and help if necessary. And there's also a nurse here. Hi. Are you Janny?
I'm Jenny.
I'm Dr. Phil. How are you? Michael,
Hi, Dr.
how you
Phil.
doing?
Nice
Good
to
to
meet
see
you.
you. Hey, Jan, let me show you something. I brought you.
We're gonna cook in a second.
Do you have pets?
I do. Now sit down. Do you have pets?
I'll make cookies.
Yeah. Well, we'll make cookies in a minute. Tell me about pets. Do you have a dog?
Yeah.
What's your dog's name?
Honey. Yeah.
Do you have a dog named Blink?
Yeah.
Tell me about Blink.
Well, Blink.
Is Blink a beagle?
Beagle.
We do have a dog here if you want to see it.
What's the name?
His name is Joey.
I'll make cookies.
Well, okay, you want to see Joey first?
Yeah.
Come here, Joey. Hey, Joey.
Doggy.
Now, do you have cats?
One cat. Midnight.
Yeah. Is Midnight one of just your friends, or is it somebody I can see too?
One of my friends.
Just your friends? Can I see Midnight? How come? Okay, you want to make cookies? All right. Well, I guess we'll go make cookies. Can you tell me who 400 is?
One cat.
What kind of cat is 400? Is 400 a good cat or a bad cat?
One cat.
Tell me who 80 is.
My friend.
Yeah. Is 80 a friend that I can meet, or is 80 a friend that just you meet? Just for you? Okay. What you're seeing here is what we call a flight of ideas. It's an inability to get a thought or an idea and stay with it. That's why you see, I want to see the dog. I want to make a sandwich. I want to have cookies. No, I want sandwich. No, I want cookies. I want sandwich. Cookies, cookies, sandwich, cookies. I've just been trying to keep up with her and talk to her for about 20 minutes, and I'm sweating. Hey, Jenny, want to go check the cookies?